Hey Young Adults Today fam, my name is Morgan. I am part of the Minnesota Student Ministries team and I'm part of the team here putting on the conference. So I'm going to be hosting these interviews, super excited, but a little off script here. Before we keep going, I just want to give honor where honor is due to Micah and Josiah. They truly have been pouring out their heart and soul into this conference, to you guys. They're just the real deal on and off the screen. And Micah, you've been a huge role model in my life. So I just want to say, love you guys. Thank you for everything that you're doing. And you're just the best. Amazing. So these interviews are going to be about 18 minutes here. They may feel a little rushed, but we just want to get some practical things for you guys and kind of dive in deep. So get your notebooks ready. And as we go here, if you have any questions, I have the YouTube pulled up here. So the YouTube chats here pulled up, so I will be pulling any questions you guys have throughout us talking here. I'll glance down and would love to answer them. Love to have you guys be a part. So first up here we have Kirby St John. He is the district youth director here in Minnesota for the Assemblies of God. You've also been youth pastor in Cold Spring, Minnesota for 20 years. So it was the role that you did before you came here. And also you love hockey. That is a big part of who you are and coaching your kids and all of that. And also fun fact, this is on your bio, but you are my boss.
I am,
so
yes.
I get the privilege of being under your leadership. So it's the best.
I don't know if that's a privilege or if it's a nightmare.
It is to me. It is to me. But anything else you want to add that I didn't talk about?
So Young Adults falls under my kind of portfolio in my role. And it's so fun to work with Josiah and Micah to see them have dreams, ideas, vision for stuff, and just allow them to run with that.
Yeah.
And they have made some things happen. And so, man, this conference is because of them and what they're doing, what their heart. And so it's just fun to be able to turn people loose, to help invest in young adults across the country, in the world. And so, man, it's just fun to be a part. And so we're just glad to be a part of this today and share a few thoughts with you here over the next few minutes.
Yeah. So with kind of your background, your experience being with youth pastor for 20 years and now leading youth pastors, let's kind of come from like a youth angle. So just talk about like the transitioning from kids going to youth group to college and just how important it is, that handoff between youth and young adult ministry, college. Maybe they take a gap year or go straight into working. Right. Yeah, just talk about your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I would say it's probably one of the trickiest things that we do in ministry. I think we had that transition from elementary school to middle school, and the church does an okay job with that. I don't think we do a great job, but I think a lot of times the churches drop the ball with this transition. Where we transition from high school into the college ministry, young adult ministry, career, whatever that looks like. And I think a big part of that falls on the youth pastor. But if you don't have if you got a church with no youth pastor, it makes it's a struggle the church all across the country struggles with. But I think as a young adult, if you have a young adult ministry at your church, to somehow figure out how do I piggyback in with the youth ministry to make this transition easier. Yeah. They've been in our church maybe since birth, or 2 or 3 years, or however long they've become to youth group, and then we just they graduate. And it's like, all right, see you later. Hope it went well. Good luck. And it's like, I think it's so crucial that we figure out a way to make that transition easier, smoother, happen. And so I think one of those things is we have to do is we have to somehow, as a young adult leader, somehow get plugged in with those juniors and seniors well before they get to that spot. And then if they're leaving your church, to try to figure out how do I get them connected somewhere else. Yeah. And a lot of times we look at it just from our own end going, well, they'll just show up at young adult ministry and it's going to be easy. It's going to be, but it doesn't
it's
just.
It's on them to figure it out.
But it's not on them. It's on us to try to make that as easy as we possibly can. And especially, one, we think, well, if they're out of our church and they're going somewhere else, then we're done. And lots where we see a lot of kids kind of walk away from their faith when they leave what they've known as normal. Yeah. And then they try to go somewhere else because the church in their city that they're in now isn't what it was at home. It's not what they grew up with. It's not what they like. And so
they have no friends.
They don't have any friends. And so to try to figure out how do we transition and how do we help kids transition? So if I know a kid's leaving and going somewhere else, I'm going to call that church. I'm going to call that Chi Alpha. I'm going to call somewhere somehow to make sure that they get plugged in. And I think that's the least we could do. Yeah. Is so helping that youth pastor or you taking that role as a young adult leader, say, we've got to figure this thing out, because that's the number one age where kids walk away from their faith is right there.
College,
They say 94% of people come to Christ before age 18, and then when they walk away, then they've made a decision, but then we just leave them hanging there. And so we got to figure that out and how to make that happen.
Yeah, I love that. So maybe like wherever they are going next, like, I don't know, looking on Google, like what churches are around in that area or what ministries, and like almost even doing the connection like for them, like you would say, and like, or here's a list of awesome young adult ministries in that area that you're going to, like, I don't know, almost like presenting them with, here's some places to go, or I want to call the pastor there and I want to connect you, or
Right.
just things like that.
Yeah, I think sometimes sitting in your role and you got 8 kids going to 8 different places, that's a tough spot. How do I know where to go, where to turn people to? And but I think there are some resources out there that can help that. And so whether it's calling, a church, whether it's calling, we've got some things here in Minnesota set up, but some of your states you don't have that set up. But there's just some places that you can figure out a way, how do I connect these people? It could be just making a phone call to the church, to the pastor, there's a Chi Alpha in town, or a crew, or anything that has any type of base at a college campus. Say, hey, how are we going to get people plugged in?
Yeah.
So,
love that. Okay, so 20 years in one church, in one community, one area. Just talk about the benefits or the rewards that you saw from being in like one community, the longevity, the benefits of that, because that's amazing.
Well, yeah, you look at, I think anything that I went into the city and the people, they didn't want me in town. I'll just say that. I went into my first store and they walked in, the guy said, what are you doing? Where do you, why did you move to town? I told him, he goes, why in the F would you ever want to do that, work at that place? He didn't just say F, I'll just say that. He said something else. But it's one of those moments where you look at it and go, man, I went to the high school and the school was like, you'll never be back in the grounds again.
Wow.
But I'll tell you what, the longer I stayed and the more I love people, and I think that's the key, is you can be in a place for a long time and it not really matter, but when you start loving the community, loving people,
that's good.
It opens the door for some incredible opportunities and some incredible things. And so I want you to just, as you look at this and go, do you realize that you're a piece to everyone else's puzzle?
That's good.
So like, Morgan, if you brought someone to church and I'm at the church, I just got to realize I might be a part of that person accepting Christ, finding at least that church isn't the worst thing in the world.
Yeah.
But every time I'd go to church, I'd make sure that whenever a teenager walked through the doors, I was going to make sure that I met them on a Sunday morning. Or whenever a young adult walked through the doors, I was going to make sure that I made sure that they felt welcome and a part.
Yeah.
And I think so many times we just skip over that and we're like, well, it's not that big of a deal. No, but those are your moments to create opportunities. And the longer you're there, the more your face becomes a staple in that church or that community, or in that young adult ministry or whatever. So
yeah, love that. Okay, switching gears a little bit. So everyone asks me what it's like to work with you, and I usually tell people most days I'm crying, but it's because I'm laughing so hard. So Kirby, you are just like, you make everything so fun, and I'm a very type A person, so I'll come to you being like, oh my goodness, I don't know what to do, or this isn't going right, or they're saying this to me, this person's being whatever. You just kind of have this like peace over you all the time where you just like, don't worry, and you make everything fun. So how do you do that? Because that is so hard to do, and especially with this past year, I mean, we all can use that a little bit more, but how do you do that?
Well, that's it.
I'm taking notes too.
Right, I don't know if I've got a great answer for that.
Yeah.
But I think ministry has to be fun.
Yeah.
And loving people has to be fun. And if it's not fun for us, they're not going to enjoy it, and it's not going to be fun for anybody. And so we've got to figure out that balance of, we're so good at planning all our activities, our services, our stuff like that, but sometimes we just miss the piece of just, man, this is a so fun season. Mm-hmm. It's a fun moment, and I'm not going to get stressed out over all the little details, because I can do what I can on the front end, but and the reality is, if it's not going to work, it's not going to work, and I'm not going to let it destroy my time, my life, my enjoyment. And so I think I've just grown up learning that life happens,
right?
And I'm going to do whatever I can in the process of life to make this fun, because if I'm not having fun, then I can't expect the people that I'm doing life with
that
to
you're
have fun,
leading,
that I'm leading to have fun. Yeah. And so I really think that that church should be the funnest place or most fun place, or whatever the proper grammar there is that should be the most fun place, maybe in the community. And I think there's such a stigma in this mentality of churches, this place where it's boring and it's oh man, I'm gonna get there and I'm gonna be bored to death. But man, church should be a place where we laugh, where we cry, where we enjoy one another. And if we can enjoy being around one another, then
no one wants to be there.
Right.
Yeah, so wants to be a part. No, yeah, I love that. And I think that's a huge part too of like how you were able to stay in one spot for 20 years or be in ministry this long is because you made it fun. And if you don't make it fun, I think maybe that's why people burn out so fast too, is that they're not enjoying it. So yeah,
we take ourselves way too seriously.
Yeah.
When we see death, just have fun with life.
Yeah. So. All right, we got a question on the chats. So let's see here. What words of wisdom would you have for a young adult leader who wants to build longevity into their ministry, yet finds it challenging with the transient nature of the young adult season of life?
Yeah, that's a great question. Because, with a young adult, you may get them for a year, you may get them for 2 years, may get them for 3 years.
It's just changing.
It's changing, like, it may be 6 months. Yeah. And they're like, well, I'm going to go to school, I'm going to do this. And so what I do think is that they need a voice that's just constant in their life.
That's good.
And so I think that, just having that piece of just going, okay, man, I just got to realize that the people I'm investing in, one, it's long-term. I'm investing in these people long-term, even though they may not be with me long-term, if that makes a sense.
Maybe dive into that a little deeper.
So people, for example, or I may get them for 6 months, I may get them for a year, but if I really care about the person, I'm going to invest in beyond, like, making sure they've connected somewhere else, or making sure that they're plugged into, even if they're leaving young adults and they're just deciding, hey, I'm going to go join an adult life group, or I'm going to move on to this season because life changed and my schedule doesn't work to fit in all the young adult stuff. To just know that just because they're not around me, I'm not just going to leave them hanging. I'm going to be a part of their life still. Yeah. I think is such a huge piece to this thing going, man, I'm just not in it for the 6 months I have them. I'm in it thinking that maybe long-term, this relationship, 6 years from now, I'm still going to have a chance to speak in their life.
Yeah, because having that mindset of, like, I only get 6 months, like, that'd be so exhausting of, like, I think now it's almost looking at, like, surface level, too, of, like, because people come in and out all the time. So that's great, looking at that long. I'm going to make sure, and you can still be in their life after they're in young adult ministry.
Well, that's the thing. The cool thing about it is with the way technology is today, if they're 600 miles away, we can still connect.
Yeah,
and it's, it's so simple to do. And I just say this, when God puts somebody on your heart or on your mind, then just make sure you reach out to them. So many times we miss it, that God's trying to tell us, hey, remember that kid from 6 years ago? And for some reason they pop in your mind. I think in those moments where you reach out and you invest in them and just, hey, drop them a line, I think that keeps that door open, and it makes, because I'm not in this for just when they're with me, I'm in this for lifelong, that they're going to make this decision.
Pastoring them.
Yes, I'm pastoring them for the rest of their life, even though I may not see them for 10 years.
Right.
And it's a difficult piece, I think, sometimes, but it's doable.
Right. And that's where your heart's at.
Yeah.
Check your heart with that. All right, switching gears a little bit more again. So this last year with Speed the Life, you know what that is? It is missions that our Assemblies of God youth give to across the U.S. So here in Minnesota, with you kind of leading the charge with that, gave this past year in 2020, during a pandemic, gave almost $1.7 million, which is amazing. Like, we didn't think it was going to be that much. So just talk about your heart for missions and how to just maybe apply that to young adults, myself included. Like, our heart is like, we just want to be a part of something bigger than ourselves and a part of a cause, something to stand up for, whether it's injustice or helping those in need. So just talk about what young adult pastors can do to kind of cultivate that giving and being a part of missions, like culture in their ministry.
Yeah, I think it really is a huge piece. I mean, you hit on it. Young adults love a cause. Yeah. They want to get behind a cause. And teenagers do too. They're just, and what we've done is we've been able to challenge students to say, hey, let's in the midst of whatever's going on in our world, that we don't forget what really matters to God. And that's lost people. Yeah. And whether that's in our own community, whether it's somebody we work with, whether it's somebody we went to high school with, now we're, transitioning through life. But I really think that man, if we'll give college students just the opportunity to get behind something, even though in the midst of that, or young adults who are in the middle of the workforce, a college kid maybe looks at it and they go, they don't have a ton of money, but they'll give their life to do something.
Yeah,
and some of the workforce, they may have a little bit more resources, but they still want to be a part of something bigger than themselves.
Yeah.
And we look at some of our biggest people that are going to the field missions. When it comes to missions, it's college students right now. They're going, I'll give a year or 2 years of my life to do this. And so I think there's that feel of just trying to, how do we bring young people, how do we bring young adults into the idea of, let's get behind the cause of Christ in changing the world, impacting the world. And I think if we'll do that, we'll challenge them, we'll watch this thing take off, because, like you said, young adults are all about a cause.
Yeah, it's
and
so
so if
true.
we can find the cause that's going to get them excited and passionate, they'll give not only their time, their energy, but they'll give their resources to that as well.
And almost filtering them to the right cause, because there's so many causes out there, good and bad, whatever you believe too. So yeah, that's awesome. Hey, we're almost out of time. We have other questions here, but I'm going to save these questions. Next month, we're going to do a little bonus after conference feature with you, Kirby, and the Keneally's. So we'll get to answer these questions here, but I mean, we could keep talking so long about all this. So we do want to keep talking about some of these conversations with these things, but Kirby, thank you so much for your time, and again, love leading me under.
Whatever, yes, we get it.
Yes.